Welcome to our program, Coach-to-Coach. Today's guest is Jeff Craig. Jeff's practice, Euthymia, incorporates breath work with positive psychology aimed at serving clients by moving them into action to achieve their goals. Thank you for joining us today, Jeff. It's great to see you.
Pleasure to be here, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. So I'd like to start these off by asking what first sparked your interest in coaching and/or breath work?
Yeah, okay. Breath work I discovered on the yoga mat many years ago.
Mhm.
Realized that when I actually connected breath up with the asanas, how much more difficult yoga became. And then from there, I just explored things like Wim Hof, transformational breath work, and that was me off looking for certification. On the coaching side, I think what sparked my interest was two very positive experiences of being coached myself through two very different situations, Greg. I was kind of 20 years managing warehouses, logistics operations.
Mhm.
And after a redundancy, I found it very hard to settle at a quick succession of 4 or 5 jobs over the course of 24 months. And I kind of realized I'd probably just fallen out of love with it. So I knew I had to try my hand at something else. And that's where I engaged a coach. And that was just really good. That led me out of making a move out of operations into the
Mhm.
projects arena, a kind of sideways move from managing teams in the warehouse into the IT aspect.
Mhm.
And I couldn't have done it without coaching. Well, I probably could, but I don't think it would have been as easy. Coaching opened me up to possibility, to be honest with you. It really let me go inside and analyze my thinking about what I could create here. I looked at what was possible with the skill set I had, whether that was my hard or my soft skills, and it sort of gave me the impetus to try things that I might not have tried.
Mhm.
Um, it made me think differently in different ways about the situation I was in, and made me just proactively reach out to people working in projects, in supply chain IT. Um, and understanding from them where my experience fit in. And I think key to that was so that a lot of people who I was talking to, many of whom I didn't know or didn't know very well, were really willing to help, you know.
Mhm.
And then I had another. Utilized the same coach when my marriage was falling apart. So as I say, two very different situations. That was a difficult time, obviously, with sort of many ups and downs. But I kind of made the decision personally early on that I wasn't going to kind of fall into victimhood,
Mhm.
which wasn't always easy, or indeed where I was
Yeah, for
operating
sure.
from every day. But coaching just led me to appreciate sort of alternative perspectives around the whole situation. I began to look at some of my thinking and behaviors around that time
Mhm.
that I'd probably been masking. And the coaching just gave me a broader overview of where I was. There was some dark moments there that I had to go into, thoughts about how I'd failed, thoughts about how I wasn't worthy of love.
Mhm.
And coaching just helped me see these for what they were, just thoughts, and that I could choose whether to believe them or not.
Yeah.
So it really alleviated all that kind of draining energy and let me move forward.
Mhm.
So yeah, it just made me think in a different way.
Yeah.
So two very different experiences of coaching. From that, I decided to train up and qualified with this certification in positive psychology coaching.
Mhm. Yeah. I love the discovery, I guess, of this whole other realm that you probably didn't even know existed when you were in the throes of supply chain management and stuff. I spent over 20 years in the grocery business,
Right.
and even though I was, I don't know, somewhat deeply into like personal development through like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and kind of businessy kind of
Yeah.
personal development stuff. Yeah, the whole psychology um, principles, things I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
and
It's a new world.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what kind of got me into the personal development of managing teams. I thought, well, if I'm asking them to do things differently, I've got to be a different person. And that led me reading into all the
yeah,
books you mentioned there, Stephen Covey,
yeah,
and then you get further into down the rabbit hole into the spiritual stuff, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, it's funny you say that because I remember when I got into it, I was adamant that I don't want to get involved in people's personal lives. This is strictly business. Just we're going to leverage this to help achieve our business objectives, all this kind of stuff. And and when I look back on it, all the most powerful moments were around the people, them as people. So not necessarily their personal life, but you can't separate the business from the personal because we're one being. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was that was a good learning in and of itself.
100%.
I mean, this has occurred to me. I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and stuff, and what occurred to me was kind of, and I don't know if you've noticed this yourself, but it seemed to me like there was probably a lot of parallels between like supply chain management and breath work, transformational coaching. Um, like this, the idea of like I think of supply chain is getting stuff from point A to point B, and coaching. I think of the same way. It's getting somebody from point A where they are now to point B, which is where they want to be. And I
I
just
like.
wondered if you'd ever looked at it that way.
No, I hadn't, and I like that analogy, and I think I'm going to steal that one, Greg.
Yeah, steal with pride.
But yeah, you know, supply chain's all about doing it. These days, it's all about doing it faster, quicker, and you
Mm,
know, and I think there's definitely parallels there. That's a really nice comparison you've drawn, you know.
yeah, yeah, cool. Well, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I I've really leaned into um, going with whatever images and things pop into my head. So that just occurred to me. So I thought I'd
Yeah, I
share.
like it. I really
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I'd love to hear more about your practice. I know I was looking at your website and trying to pronounce the name of your practice, and I was
Euthymia.
looking up the meaning of it and stuff. And I really loved your logo, the kind of the spiral. I don't know if it kind of looked like a pathway to me, like a what do they call that? Anyway, I'd just love for you to tell us a little bit about your
Yeah, so
practice
the
and
the
the kind of
spot
work you're doing.
yeah, the spiral logo, I look at it two ways. You can be in the center unfurling, or you can be in the outside coming in. You know,
Mhm.
that's why I kind of like the sort of dichotomy of it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I qualified about 2 years ago. And really the breath work has been the thing that's grown quite organically and is the
Mhm.
stuff I'm focusing on at the moment. I really see the two things, the breath work and the talk coaching as complementing one another. And I've always kind of had it in the back of my head that they'll dovetail somehow, you know, the sort of
Mhm.
talk coaching for the thinking mind, the breath work for the body, and releasing, you know, trapped emotions or things that are unprocessed. I think they really do go hand in hand. So yeah, I'm currently undergoing another breathwork certification, which is my second in 12 months
Mhm.
around a particular modality that I love, and that's conscious connected breathwork. For me, that's where the real sort of the rubber hits the road and the real transformation happens in breathwork. And I've been sort of integrating that into any sessions I'm running. So I'm currently working with an online community who are exploring their relationship with alcohol,
Mhm.
and people at different stages of sobriety or sober curious. Very vibrant chat on WhatsApp. It's on fire every day. So I drop in there sort of every couple of weeks and we have a breathwork session. And it seems to help. It seems to be landing with people, the
Mhm.
good people in there. So yeah. Alongside that, I've just completed the first iteration of a program that I developed called Breathe into Being. I'm sorry, Breathe into You,
Mhm.
which is a 4 week breathwork journey, if you like. We have had an hour at a group of 12 on this iteration, which was done in January. We had an hour each week where we take a different, what I would call daily or functional breathing practice. So something that people can do day to day when they need to reset, to de-stress, to boost their energy. So we have a few moments of that. And then in the later part of the session, we can go deeper with some conscious connected breath work, kind of getting out of the head, getting into the body, and seeing what happens there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been a bit of one-to-one and a bit of group work. And I've done a couple of sort of corporate things as well. I've been very fortunate to work for a company who really focus on our well-being.
Mhm.
So I've delivered some breath work last month to colleagues across Europe in 2 sessions. And again, that seemed to be landing with people. I just kind of think when I look at my Instagram that everybody's doing breath work and ice bath. So you kind of think, oh, people know about this, but
Yeah.
when you're doing these sessions and you find people are like, "What's breath work?" It's great, you know. And when you see the blinker swallow in, people really get into it and realize what they can do with it. It's just it makes my day. I love it.
Yeah. 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 It's funny how our I'll call it the AI curated uh, reality tunnels that we get served up on our phones make us think that the whole world is interested in the same things that we're interested in.
Weird.
And like coaching, like I've been so into coaching for 5 years, you would just think the whole world knows about coaching. And that's the way it seems when I'm on my phone.
I know.
Yet there's 8 billion people in the world, and I'm going to guess, 7.9 something billion
Yeah, no, 100%.
or don't have had not had an experience of
Yeah,
what the kind of coaching we do. Like, I mean, I think most people, when I say coaching, that their immediate thing, and again, this may just be my thinking and my background, is like sports or
PC
personal
or yeah, yeah,
development, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, my coach got me onto Wim Hof breathing 2 years ago, I guess. I'd say for probably a year and a half, every night before bed, I would do.
Okay.
I had there was two videos on YouTube. One was like a beginner, and the next one I guess was intermediate. But it was
Hmm.
basically like uh, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. I think it's 30 times. Then hold your
Yeah.
breath for a minute. Do it again. There's 3 rounds.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did that like every night for about a year and a half. I slept like a
Amazing.
baby.
Yeah.
As soon as I did that, boom, I was out. And the first time I did it, I was kind of freaked out by it because my core body temperature just
Dropped.
plummeted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what's going on? And it's amazing, surprising. And then in hindsight, I don't know why it's surprising, but like using our like breathing as a tool to control our physiology seems so obvious. Yet for over 50 years of my life, I had no idea it was even a
Yeah.
thing. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah, I think it depends on what study you read, but I've read studies where it puts it at 70%. I've read other papers where it puts it at 90% of us aren't breathing correctly.
mhm,
And that's kind of why I think it's really important to understand the functional aspect of it as well as this sort of, the more sort of hermetic stress breathing that you talk about there with
yeah,
Wim Hof, which I love,
yeah,
but it's not for everyone, and it's finding what's good for different clients is the
yeah,
key. And the integration is something that is a massive thing. The breath work's one thing, but actually what you're doing with any of those unprocessed emotions that are coming
mm,
up is really where the breath worker comes in to try and help people out.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not just about the physical practicing of it. It's what's going on
Yeah,
during the body.
physiology is one thing, and what you
Yeah,
described there, going cold, is a very common sort of symptom. People
yeah,
get this tetany with their hands cramping. It's just to do with you're resetting and moving carbon dioxide about in the body, and it's
yeah,
just the body thinking what's going on here.
yeah,
But I'm a big fan of breath holds. It's
yeah,
where the magic happens for me.
yeah.
So,
It's funny. I was in a conversation yesterday with two other coaches I know. We're studying the book Atomic Habits by James Clear,
okay, yeah, great book.
and I think we did chapter 8 yesterday, and it was about um, uh, describing kind of these instinctual patterns that we have. There was examples of like baby birds pecking at their mother's beak, and because there's a red dot. But if you put any
Yeah,
object with a red dot, it will
little
the
peck,
babies will
yeah,
peck at it. Um, Dopamine hits and all this kind of stuff. And the thing that occurred to me yesterday when we were talking about this, like, why am I on my phone so much, or why am I so addicted to Netflix, or I don't know, any of these dopamine inducing things? And then I realized, well, hang on, I'm as equally addicted to being on these coaching calls and being in rooms where you might be on a call for an hour and there's 30 minutes of silence. um, and it's the exact opposite. One is kind of like a sped up version of what my body is craving, or some aspect of my body. But and what I've noticed when I'm slowed down, um, just how much more beneficial that is to me. Uh, I said I did a post recently that was slowing down to go faster is the new less is more. I'm
yeah,
far more productive and far more clear when I'm clear minded and slowed down than when I'm all caught
absolutely.
up in
Yeah.
whatever's going on.
Actually, I actually have above my desk at the minute. This
Mm.
is,
Yeah.
as a reminder, it's my mantra for 2026
Mm.
because I tend to get all up in my head and think, I gotta do this, I gotta do that.
Yeah.
And you're right, there are things to be done, but when you just back off, you do them with so much more ease.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No race. Just it's
Yeah.
things to be done, but there's no race to do them.
Yeah.
So
Well, my mantra for 2026 is calm and ease. That's
I love it. I
my
love it, Greg. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
So I'd love to hear some examples of how your coaching or your breath work has helped, maybe some of your clients. You mentioned kind of a few examples with the sobriety and alcoholism folks and corporate stuff.
Yeah,
Anything specific you can share that people can relate to?
I think with the breath work, it's really just excuse me, meeting the client where they are at any given time. I've just seen, as I said, it kind of feels to me that everybody knows about this, and then I realize that they don't. And if you take them through even very simple techniques that they can use in their day to day when they're feeling stressed or they need a boost of energy, I've had myriad examples of people just saying, "I'm doing this in my day to day, and it works," which is great. I think as regards to coaching, I think one example I'd always go to, and it's a bit contentious, is very early on. I had a client who came to me about how his mood swings were positive to negative, just up and down, very quickly throughout the day. Um, and we started to talk about this, and I think, as you'll know, sometimes, Greg, the thing isn't the thing. I think it was the second, perhaps even the third session, where he talked about the fact that he was feeling that he really needed to draw a line under his marriage, that he and his partner needed to part company.
Mm,
And to be honest, I kind of dropped out of coach mode at that point, having been in a similar situation myself around the same time, albeit on the other side of the coin. I kind of opened up and took the coaching hat off, and whilst I appreciate many would see that probably as unprofessional or something we shouldn't do,
mm,
I could just see the need in this guy's eyes. He was hurting.
mm,
And at that point in time, I just thought, look, I wasn't going to offer him my individual experience, but I just said, I know where you're at. I wanted to let him know that I heard him, if you like.
mm,
So I sort of went first in that position, and it kind of let him ask me a few deep questions. But then off the back of that, I just found I was able to really deepen my listening and really get into what was going on with him. And I think that's one example that always stands out for me. Having, like I say, it was very early on when I started coaching, and having come back off the training where people were saying, "Oh, you should never do this." It just felt right, and I
yeah.
think you always have a deeper conversation. Um, when you open up, and I know you're into the three principles and stuff like that. So it's about that
Mm,
trying to get in through those deeper levels to see what's actually going on with people.
yeah. Yeah. Well, in my experience coaching, all the most powerful moments have been when I've been vulnerable myself. And yeah, so there's uh, obviously in our training there, you don't want to misconstrue your own things with whatever the client is going through,
No,
but when you can relate to people and they can feel that connection, it takes them to a much well, it they feel safer, I think is
yeah,
what
yeah,
happens. And when
100%
they're in that feeling of safety, then the real work can
kick
get
in.
done. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's great.
Vulnerability is key, I think, and I think many of us, especially men, need to sort of pick up on that and realize, that it's not a weakness.
Yeah, yeah. It certainly
It's
wasn't encouraging my 20 plus years of corporate life.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, quite the opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Alpha male.
yeah, yeah. Which is it? I don't know. I don't know if you've ever done this. I've often imagined, if I could go back in time to, you know, 1995 when I started my career and do it all over again, how different it would be if I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
Um, and not that I have any regrets or anything, but it's because I honestly feel like even all the bad things that happened in my life were critical to getting me to where I am now. That without those, I wouldn't be
Be the
here
person
having
you
this
are.
conversation. So I don't regret anything really. But
No, I agree
um,
with you. I think all that experience builds wisdom, but there's certainly a couple of managers I wouldn't have put up with for quite as long
yeah,
as I did,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
The last question I ask is if there's one thing you'd want people to know or to take away from this conversation, what would that one thing be?
Um, Yeah, I was giving this some thought. I think, you and I met in a book group around the new book by Ankush Jain, who's an
Mm,
individual that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. He comes from the kind of Steve Hardis and Steve Chandler school of coaching, and I'm kind of really fully bought in to Kush's vision that
mm,
coaching has the ability to raise the consciousness of the planet.
mm,
I think it needs to have this professional standing that other professions do. And I can really see it going in that direction, although there's work to do. I can really see it becoming more professional. I just encourage anyone who's thinking about coaching or has been press ganged into it by their manager just to embrace it and give it a go and see where it ends up. And similarly with breath work, I can just see the impact it's having when I do it. We have this thing, as you've said, that's always at our disposal. It's the first thing we do when we enter this sphere. It's the last thing we'll do when we leave.
mm.
Hundreds of thousands are not breathing well. I think if we can begin to address that, then we begin to operate from a different place.
Yeah,
This leads us into being a different person. We positively affect those around us, just creating ripples, which can then go out beyond and affect the world beyond us. So, and I think the world needs it at the minute. So yeah, but just invite people you know, to give it a go
yeah,
and see what happens for them.
yeah. I love that.
So,
Yeah, I love Cush's vision for raising the consciousness, the level of consciousness of the planet. It's so easy to find examples in the world today where people are operating at a very low level of consciousness,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's easy to get caught up in the minutia of the news, and
Hmm.
um, I don't know. Often you know, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it's almost like it's designed to keep us distracted and caught up and busy,
Yeah.
and you know, um,
I agree. I would agree with you. And
yeah.
let's not go down that rabbit hole because
No,
we'll be here
no,
another hour.
no. Yeah, but
But yeah,
the more we and the it sounds like this huge grant. Like, how the hell do you do that? How do you raise the consciousness of a planet, of everyone on the planet? And I always have to remind myself, well, so it sounds daunting and impossible, but it's really one person at a time. That's
right.
how.
Yeah, yeah.
One conversation at a time, one podcast interview at a time, one
It's just
moment
those
at a
those
time.
little those little moments that create the ripples. Kush himself
Yeah.
had it. Yeah, I've had so much time. He's gifted me so much of his time
Mhm.
and other people around him. Who are and high ticket coaches,
Yeah.
and it's just conversation because that's how they see this evolving. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, when I first read that, I thought, well, that's a grand statement. But then getting to know the individual, I can see how he's working through that. And the community he's a part of is a great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. The other thing that's occurred to me is, it's not necessarily a destination. It's a direction. It's pointing in that direction, and you're gonna
yeah,
ebb and flow. You're gonna have good days and bad days and uh,
absolutely.
things, but that's we call that life. So,
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is it's just come to my mind is I don't know if you've heard of the Maharishi effect,
no.
where this is where it's Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was the guy who kind of brought transcendental meditation from India
Mm,
to the West, the one that the Beatles and
mm,
Donovan sort of grabbed onto, latterly David Lynch. And he started experiments, I think, in the 70s, where he found that if he got a small group of meditators together and they consciously connected up,
mm,
crime rates in the area went down. I
mm,
think they've done some studies in the Middle East some years ago now where um, the amount of violence decreased for a certain amount
yeah,
of time. So it's those baby steps, isn't it?
yeah,
You get
yeah,
more people doing that and raising their consciousness. It's the ripple effect of how it affects other people around them, and then they
yeah,
take that out into the world. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's funny you say that because I was having some insights recently about. So my parents are both passed away now, but they spent their, I'd say the last two-thirds of their life as Salvation Army ministers.
beautiful.
And um, myself and my siblings, we kind of I don't know, rejected organized religion
What you do,
when we became young adults and whatnot. But I look back at all those years and times that I was in church, and we went to the Anglican church before that. But it was, you know, I'm seeing all these parallels between breath work, meditation, slowing down. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what church services do.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't call it
absolutely.
that, but when you're singing hymns and you're singing choruses and you're kind of getting into a trance like meditative state, and the
Mhm.
buildings are designed to resonate sounds, and I don't know, it's just all of a sudden it was like all these light bulbs went on for me, going like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, that's why like people go there and leave feeling renewed and great because they're participating in this connected thing. And I think the I don't know, the degradation of organized religion, at least in the West, probably has contributed to a lower level of consciousness because we don't have that weekly renewal
yeah.
that used to be kind of the norm. And,
Mm.
and I'm not advocating for one religion or the next, but it's like at a different level, take away all the um, I don't know, the narratives of the religion, of any particular religion, and just look at the
What they stand
meditation
for.
and the
Yeah,
breathing
yeah,
and
yeah.
the connection. It's like, oh yeah, that's really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think there's a church local to me. I've lived in this area for 2 years, and I was walking past the other day, and I just thought I'm going to go and have a look at beautiful little church, country church,
Yeah,
and that energy still resonates in there, even when the people
mm,
have left on a Sunday. So I think
yeah,
that's important. It's
yeah,
yeah, the energy still resides in there even after the people have gone.
yeah.
And interestingly, just around breath work, they kind of say that the perfect breath in and the perfect breath out should be about 5 to 6 seconds in, 5 to 6 seconds out.
Mm,
And interestingly, that's how a lot of mantras seem to be about 5 to 6 seconds. So they think it may be linked with that.
mm,
So there's another little synergy for you.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I read a book called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
I know, no.
one of the things he talks about is the wisdom of the ancients, is what he calls it. So it's, in modern times, everything's very sciencey, and we got to figure out, but like there's so much wisdom from ancient civilizations. Like they developed mantras that were 5 to 6 seconds long. Nobody probably studied it in the scientific method to say this is what's going
Yeah,
on, but through trial and error, they
yeah.
landed on what actually
The
is
perfect.
the
Yeah,
perfect amount.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of I don't know. I often try to remind myself just of how much wisdom there has been passed down the generations.
100%. Yeah, yeah. We've just forgotten it, and I think we're rediscovering it somewhat.
Yeah.
But that sounds like my kind of book. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard. Well, I say read. I listen to it on Audible, but I had to go through it twice before it just kind of. But there's a
Okay,
lot of great stuff in there. Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I'll have a look. Thank you.
cool, cool. If people want to find out more about what you're doing or get involved with your programs, where can they find you?
So the website is euthymia.uk. I kind of favor Instagram as my social, and that's at Euthymia_coaching. Euthymia is EUTHYMIA. As you said, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook as Jeff Craig. So yeah,
So, well, this has been a
that's
lot of
me.
fun, Jeff, and
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks
yeah,
for the opportunity, Greg. Really appreciate it.
yeah, and you've inspired me to get back on my Wim Hof breathing. So,
Well, if I can help with anything, give me a shout.
yeah, all right,
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Greg.
Thank you. Take
Cheers.
care. Cheers.
Bye.